Hi, good afternoon to everyone. This is V. Srinivas Rao. I'm also known as VSR. I'm the Chairman and Managing Director for BT and BT, pretty active in other professional bodies also. Today, we are going to talk about a very interesting topic called Banking 4.0, that is powered by almost a dozen technologies, of course. There are so many other technologies also there. And I have with me very senior seasoned professionals as guests who joined this panel. Let me introduce one by one. Sudeem Baroker, he is a global IT and innovation advisor, CIO. He has played a very senior roles in Barclays and SBI and other banks. So very well known in the banking space. Welcome, Sudeem, for this session. And
Thank you.
I have yeah, thank you, Sudhir. So I have Dr. Suresh Shan. He's also from Mahindra and Mahindra Finances, head innovations, future technologies. It's like business information technology services. So he will bring an extensive experience in the finance space. Thank you, Dr. Suresh Shan, for joining this session. So I have with me Ashish Tiwari. He's Vice President and Head of Engineering Neo Solutions. He represents the fintech. Probably we'll have some interesting discussion how fintech is challenging the conventional banking system. So we have one more guest. Probably will join within some time. So let us start this particular session. So when I say banking 4.0, why we call 4.0 is just to align with the fourth industrial revolution and a digital economy, where the technologies have become the driving forces to change the industry. Banking is not exceptional. So here, what is happening is the mobile, social, analytics, cloud, Internet of Things, augmented virtual realities, blockchain, artificial intelligence, machine learning, then edge computing, or programmable software networks, geospatial technologies, cyber security. I mean, it is very scary sometimes because banks also not able to skip any of these technologies. Most of these technologies become part and parcel of banking solutions. So why banks have to move to the banking 4.0 era is to align with the digital economy and fourth industrial revolution, where the customer behaviors got changed, their expectations got changed. And because of these technological innovations, the physical and digital worlds are getting matched. So converged precisely. That means the banking operations also getting changed. So all these things we'll discuss in this. Particularly, we are going to talk about the payment services. I mean, there are so many new commerce in this space, and robo banking, like how the robo advisors, chatbots or virtual assistants going to change. Then, as I mentioned, the open banking and fintech, how it is going to change the banking industry. Cryptocurrencies, blockchain, it's a lot of hype. What is that means to banking industry? Then coming to the core of software applications and infrastructure, what is the, what are the changes coming in these two areas because of this banking 4.0? So that's the topic for today. So let me start the session. I request the panelists to share their thoughts. So start with Dr. Suresh Sean. As I mentioned, technology fusion. That means now the solutions are not just based on one technology or two technologies, something like that. It's an intersection. The innovation lies in the intersection, the convergence, the fusion. So what is your view on this fusion of technologies and how it is changing the banking industry?
Yeah, thanks for this question, Mr. Vyasar, and it's a great question, need of the hour, like how things are taking it up and how people do see, especially when it comes to technology fusion, where the kind of digital transformation which is moving on. We can see the actual basics of digital transformation. So far, touchwood, majority of the digital, we call it more of transformation is focusing more on the corporate digital, where corporates were focusing more on the regulators, and it is revolving more on the process, policy, procedures of the corporate, and the digital was getting evolved based on that, where the innovations, disruptions, you call it payment systems, all were focusing towards that and trying to get enabled and empowered to enrich the systems. But the kind of transformation during COVID and post-COVID is going to be more on the transformation of corporate digital towards the customer digital, where every individual customer is going to be more of a corporate, and the kind of solutions, especially when it comes to more of social media, or trying to bring out analytics, you call it cloud, rightly pointed out the edge of cloud, and bringing it out blockchain, and the kind of mixed reality when we try to use as much as on the Internet of Things, and trying to use more of the programmable networks, or even for that sake geospatial technologies. All those things are going to get aligned towards the kind of customer digital and the cyber security, and the kind of security which is going to enable and see the choice of change, which is going to challenge the technology part of the system. But sure, the customer digital has its own pros and cons, but banking are going to get more towards align, getting those systems and trying to align and see a future which is going to be more customer digital and trying to empower using the technology fusion. Back to you, Mr. VS.
Okay. Okay, thanks. I think you brought out a very important point, the customer digital. I think it's not just a back office or something like head office. It is also front office, very much important. So customer digital is a very important concept you brought out. Let me also introduce Prasanna Lohar. He joined just now, Head Digital Innovation and Architecture, DCB Bank. Thanks, Prasanna, for joining this session. So, Sudhin, could you please also share your thoughts on what is this fusion of technologies and how it is impacting the banking industry, and how we justify that we are in the banking 4.0 era?
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic opportunity for really the entire banking ecosystem, whether it's big banks or financial services or insurance companies or even fintechs or even rest of the participating ecosystem, to really leverage all these emerging tech and innovations. I think the COVID disaster has prompted everyone to go now digital, contactless, and seamless. And that's what we have done over the years, both in Barclays as well as in State Bank of India. Over the years, we invested in the mobile banking, internet banking, bots, modernized our core banking, digital payments, digital infrastructure, as well as a lot of modernization of course, our GRC, the governance, risk, and compliance. So I think what has happened today is a fantastic opportunity where banks and fintechs can further give much better service, more scalable services, much better customers, much better digital-based customer-driven kind of solutions. And I think it's also very important that to see the size of the mission-critical natures of the banks, what we do, the banking core banking system. So in 2017. When I was in head of innovation at State Bank of India, we benchmarked our core banking systems at 24,000 transactions per day, or approximately 1.5 billion transactions. 24,000 transactions per second, or approximately 1.5 billion transactions in a day. This is the most advanced, scalable, complex core banking system in the world, developed in India by Indian technologists. And this is serving more than 450 million plus customers and 670 million accounts. And in spite of all this COVID disruption, everything is working absolutely fine. We are doing all the services working from home. So it means that all these modernization, the use of emerging tech, the use of automation is going to, I think, help the ecosystem. Is going to bring a lot of customer delight, better customer engagement, and will also keep driving the costs, much lower.
Sure, thank you. I think, the fusion of technologies, it should not be like a slogan. I think, as you rightly mentioned, the customer delight and operational excellence and profit. Unless I think we achieve those important milestones, so no point having whether 12 or 24 technologies. Thanks, Sudhin. Ashish, what is your view? I mean, you represent a startup, and I'm sure you might be bringing so many innovations in the fintech. So what is your view, this intersection and convergence of these technologies, how it is going to change the banking industry? What is the additional value proposition we can get it from this fusion of technologies?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, V sir, for the question. So See, basically, what I believe is that traditionally the banks have been using a push strategy to communicate their offerings, to customers, whether it is via advertising or via mails or via POS systems and so on and so forth. Now, the industry focus overall is moving from customer service to customer engagement. I think that will be the key to success for any bank. Now, now this requires a two-way mode of communication, where and in this case, the social media can play a big role. There is a huge, large volumes of data on social media, which can definitely help the banks, understand the sentiments of the customer, the behavior of the customer, and the needs of the customer. So what I believe is that banks can extract very key insights for customers in terms of servicing, marketing, risk, business performance. So that is one, powerful tool which the customer, where the banks can use this social media tool to drive the loyalty, the revenue, and profitability. So that is one tool which definitely banks can use, and many fintechs use that. The other one on the social would be the transitioning from the enterprise CRM to social CRM. So there are, within the banks, when we interact with banks, we have seen that there are so many silos within the banks. There is one wealth management, then mortgage, then savings account. While if you see that the customer today is looking for a 360-degree view. Now, if you want to do that, the social CRM, which will be cutting across different silos, will be the most powerful tool which you can use. The other tool, which I believe and most of the fintechs use, is the AI technology. AI technologies can help you, in boosting your revenue via two means. One, they will tell you where to invest, what to invest, what has been giving you high revenue. So from that perspective, you get more customers. So that is one revenue streaming. The other is that it will also help you bring down the cost. So by putting in more higher automation, reducing the error rates, reducing the utilization of your resources, and uncovering the unleashed potentials. What will happen if you invest in this bond, right? So all that stuff, when AI brings you together, that helps you boosting your revenues through personalization and by giving better services to your employees. So
Okay,
those two
that's good.
that is going to help many banks.
Sure, fantastic. Yeah. So I think probably we'll conclude this particular topic with Prasanna. Prasanna, can you highlight especially I think most of our panelists mentioned about revenue, loyalty, personalization, investments, decisions, and all. So what do you think the fusion of these technologies will bring value to the banking? I call it as a banking 4.0.
And I think it is a really good topic, Industry 4.0, right? And that too we are talking when Industry 4.0 adoption is at peak. And as rightly said by Suresh, is this peak is because customer is itself they are adopting, right? Say for example, if my customer is adopting Industry 4.0, they are talking about intelligence, they are talking about IoT, wearables, they are adopting mobile, and moreover, when 5G will come into picture, they will have so many gadgets around them, right? And as a bank, if I'm not catching that journey, then I think it's a risk for us, which is that Ashish has really rightly pointed out. Earlier, bank used to push their products. Take my mobile banking, take my mutual funds, or this is something for you. But here, customer will ask, do you have these things? I think which is available in Netflix. So something which is available in other industry, like as a cross industry, banking customer would like to say similar kind of experience for him in the banking journey. Say example, something is available at a PhonePe, Paytm as a service, so they will look at whether it is available at you or not, right? Something is bringing a banking on wearable, or banking on a smart car, or banking into your refrigerator, or any kind of such a something is coming into their life, right? Say example, in some of the shopping malls outside of India, if you enter in the shopping mall, they know who has really entered. Moreover, they know many more data points around him, who has entered, his facial expression, he can do payment to the facial. Can I not have similar experience at branches, or can I not have some contactless experience at ATMs? So bringing that cross-industry innovation, which is based upon Industry 4.0, customer would like to demand that in the future. So I think customer already is aware of these things. While because in pandemic they have adapted too much of digital, and now sitting at home they want everything digital, right? Now this digital will go beyond this expectation, and current digital become a normal tradition. What is that we'll look for? I think I'm with all my experts. Customer is moving fast. Human augmentation has really happened. I think we have surpassed one generation in last few months. At least for few of those older generation, they have started adopting mobile phones for their services. Millennials sitting at home glued to the mobile phones. I think there are some up and downs why we are too much on digital, but at the same time, that's a reality. And as a bank, we should understand where your consumer is moving. And if we are not analyzing how consumer is doing their journey in onboarding or servicing for that customer or engaging that customer, or how do we safeguard customers data or the various controls at bank level. So I think Industry 4.0 brings a lot of efficiency around that. Through AI, you can have a chatbot, you can have robots, humanoids, robotic process automation for operations. Sudhin was talking about adoption of blockchain will really move the banking to the next level, right? Just imagine banking without zero operation. Without that cost is completely removed, right? It is all possible. It's only in mindset. How can we and how soon we can make it happen? But in a nutshell, Industry 4.0 is a name for a next customer moment, and banks who will really be on that journey, they are getting those incentives as of now, and every bank should really practice speech and really adopt that journey. Yeah.
Good. Thank you so much. So banking 4.0 is justified, well justified. So I think the most important point what you brought out is if customer is moving at let us say 150 kilometers per hour, and banks cannot move at 15 kilometers per hour. So customers getting a lot of access to more digital devices and the environment, the social media, their behavior got changed, their expectations got changed. So banks have to embrace all this 12 or 20 or whatever, all these now payments like Google, you call Google Pay or Paytm or PayPal. I mean, there are so many. Do you think the banking as such, the traditional banks become like a back office elephants where they limit their transactions to the core banking transactions, and front office where you mentioned people are expecting an excellent experience, like Ashish also mentioned personalization, social CRM. Means all these things will be taken over by some small companies, startups, etc. Then banks, what is that? This total payment business is happening today. How the banks will get impacted? What is your view on that?
So I think this is a very good question, sir. I think it's already happening. Look at the Google Pay. What was there Google Pay available in 2016 when these 60-year-old or 100-year-old banks are already available, right? But Google Pay came in and really getting those pie of transactions, followed by Phone Pay, followed by earlier Paytm was there, right? So they are already part of this payment journey and so on. But I think, see, banks are regulated by regulator, right, and government of India, so inherently, and they will always look at how banks will be always part of that game, right? Say example, Google and Phone Pay were doing at least 70-80% of this UPIs. Immediately they brought in some rule by saying that they cannot, after some certain portion, they cannot have the pie of those UPI transactions. P2P was one example where they were about to get over peer-to-peer lending. So immediately those P2P got converted into NBFCs, where the role of a regulator came into picture. So while doing this journey, while banks are blessed with the regulators, banks will be always there because they are regulatory entities. We need banks for safeguarding your finances, but people need banking. They may not need actual those bricks and mortars and those branches, but what people need is a financial service. If they are getting that financial service through some app with a better experience, they will always go for it. So banks has to now understand the game is not only that brick and mortar or a branch or followed by mobile banking or internet banking. It is more beyond that for that digital customer. This digital customer
I'm sorry to
wants
interrupt
to.
here.
Yeah, so I'm coming to your question. So this digital customer is there, and they will always look at the services not only from banks app but on non-banking app also. So you will see rise of marketplaces like Paisa Bazaar, Bank Bazaar is already there. Here onwards, you will see a lot of marketplaces on various services, right? So one of the entity which we are bringing, that account aggregator, right? So account aggregator, what they will do, they are gonna standardize how these marketplace will consume or APIs from the banks or similar kind of entities. So that kind of a motive will come in the next couple of years. The way in Europe PSD2 had come, banks are always required. But how can we really regulate that whole business model, incentivize to banks and the partners through account aggregator? That is on a high priority. I think we tried doing it, but because of pandemic, I think that launch is still postponed. They have more than 40 plus use cases around in account aggregator. To begin with SMEs, you just imagine all the APIs which one bank was opening it to some fintech, now that has to be driven through account aggregator. So account aggregator will have a complete control of how API is being consumed by these partners and fintechs. So banks will be always
my
there.
question is,
Yeah,
sorry
banks will
to
be,
interrupt, Prasanna.
yeah,
Sorry to interrupt.
yeah.
My question is, if this is happening, your account aggregators, AISPs, whatever, the account information service providers and all these guys, do you think banks lose most of the direct interaction? Of course, banks will be there. Banks have to be there. There is nothing like banks will not
Yes,
be
yes.
there. But my fundamental question is, can banks sustain with the customer relations directly? The interactions with banks will go down, where all these AISPs or the fintech or very new tech companies will take over that customer interface, where only banks limiting to the backend transactions. So that's where the banks are worried. We may get
So
disconnected
yeah, so
directly
I
with.
think the answer to is yes or no. Now depends upon the consumer. Consumer is of which bank, right? Say for example, consumer is a customer of some tech-savvy bank, and he is already on a digital journey, utilizes so many gadgets. So that customer will never call to the contact center, right? But at least there are, I think Suresh can add in, right? So there are n number, I think 60-70% of customers are in rural area. They do not know, although they have a WhatsApp or those Netflix and this and that, but banking, their need is to walk by nearest branch, take out the money, or walk by nearest BC, take out the money or give that money back. So that journey is still there. So India is a mix of both the digital and physical world so far. At least in India, we have a long way to see that 100+ cashless economy, something like that. I think it will never happen because we have other challenges, education, or how is the infrastructure and how is the network bandwidth. Unless and until we become completely digital on these other challenges, I think we don't see that vanishing of the customer connect to the or a bank connect to the customer. So that's in nutshell I can say.
So I think we are safe for at least for next 5 years. Okay, it's all right. So Sudhir,
Yeah.
now I'm changing the topic a bit, where in the financial industry and banks and all, everybody's talking about robots. I think we'll see in the news items, robo is basically welcoming you at the bank. I don't know what is the real value add. That's a different discussion. Then you also have the robo advisors, robo loan advisor, robo investment advisor, robo XXXX advisors. So what do you think these robo advisors, whether chatbots or virtual assistants, and physical robots welcoming at the banks, do you see any trends in India and how it is going to change the Indian banking system?
So, in fact, great question, because in 2017 and 18, we implemented two bot solutions. One was for our internet banking, as well as one was for our overall website, sbi.co.in. Very, very successful implementations. We had a lot of users actually coming in, wherein instead of them having to connect to our call center, they could directly converse with the bot. And initially, what we built was the conversational bots. Now, the value addition that we are looking at and how we are engineering it, and the roadmap is now to make those conversational bots also into transactional bots, right? So that the right to, suppose the person wants to make a payment or wants to make a payment through a e-com site, so the bot will not only just give the information or the answer all the FAQs, but will also actually add further value, where just by logging in, the entire system will go automated and autonomic, right? So the bot will take care of your entire journey. So we had very good success when we started with the conversational bots. We had initially, we checked the quality of those bots from 80% relevance and accuracy. We have gone up to nearly 97 to 98%, which is really fantastic. What we did is we took the existing database of all our call center transcripts and gave it to our technology team and our technology partners. We worked with some startups as well as some of the big consulting companies which are already system integrators with the bank. And we could now what we're doing is, so the engine based on the data we already had, right? All the conversations that have been recorded with the customer and the call center rep. We have now been able to reduce the load on the call center and put the call center staff to much more value addition work. And believe me, there's a lot of work in the bank, right? For all our different products and services. So I think now the real value is also going to be shift to, so this is very good for retail banking, for corporate banking. Now for the wealth management side, for the, investment banking, I think they have been a little slow because a lot of banks have been slow because of the regulations. Because when it's a question of investment, it's very different than, your core banking or your retail banking or your corporate banking. So that will take some time. But eventually, I think once you have this autonomicity, then what will that do is actually reduce the bias, will in fact increase the ethics. There's going to be a lot of use of ethical AI to actually train these bots to follow to follow the non-bias standards or to follow the correct standards. Because when it's a human, there is a tendency to always have a bias, and obviously a human can't match the processing power of a bot, right? So I think there's a lot of scope. I think this is one of the biggest successes that we have had, where, because a lot of times we are always questioned by the stakeholders saying that, look, we're talking about blockchain, AI, automation, bots, but what is the success? What is the cost benefit analysis? What is the ROI? I think the bots and as well as the RPA, the robotic process automation that we've also implemented, has given us a lot of success in this space, and this will drive us to further cover the entire millions of customers that we serve, right? So we'll now also have the bots available for the mobile. We have the you only need one mobile banking application, so even that will be completely automated. That's in fact already automated, right? So I think this convergence of the automation, big data, the AI engine, which can give a very relevant, specific response. And over the years, when we further research and study this data, we will now take the bots to the next level, wherein more value addition, wherein the entire transaction or the entire life cycle management of a customer, service or experience can be managed by the bot itself, right? So I think this is very great success. Just one thing that we have learned, especially from a banking perspective, because banks, we make money on lending, right? We don't make money on payments or building up all this great grand infrastructure or getting the best of AI and blockchain and automation and maybe in the future quantum computing. Banks make money on lending. Even fintechs make money on lending, right? So you can have the best payment infrastructure, you can have the best APIs, but ultimately the banks and the fintechs and the entire ecosystem, whether it's even the the credit card operators or the entire payment processors, we have to figure out how in the payment ecosystem, where the value lies and how the monetization can be done so that everybody can survive and then prosper once we get this ecosystem to get itself monetized. So I think whatever payments investment is done, care should be taken that it should be looked at from a monetization perspective, and also from a position that if it's only banks and even payment companies only make money on transactions or on the lending, right? So that is a very important thing to keep in mind.
Okay, thanks, Sudhin. I think a decade back, one of the manufacturing company, I think the CTO asked me, I want to have a humanless help desk. At that time, it was a bit new, right? I mean, what is this guy talking and all? We did a lot of research. So I think the IPsoft also, I think after that started Amelia 2.0 now, I think at present. So I think more and more, I think banks also need to acquire the capabilities, like you said. Customer services probably more and more will be done by the robots or chatbots or whatever. Some of the investment decisions also can be given by the robots. You also talk about RPA. It is very important, I think, banks to understand the essence of that. They should start the strategies and proof of concepts to build all these innovations. Of course, some other banks already started, but I'm talking in general. Thank you so much, Sudhin. Now let me come back to the other interesting area. I think Prasanna already touched upon, but I would like to again bring out Dr. Suresh, Sean, and Ashish. Within next, I think 3-4 minutes, if you can share about in the European countries and other Western countries, they started this payment direct services, right? PDS2, and then AISP, then PISP, account information service providers. Prasanna talk about if I have 5 accounts, 5 banks, then there is no need for me to go to all banks. The aggregator can give me one interface and one screen where all my banking transactions I can see at one place, AISP, right? And also you have the payment initiation service providers, PISPs and all. So what do you think this open banking, this total, I think the name given is the open banking. So what is the open banking trend in India, and how much time you think it will take in India to embrace that? Are the global standards applicable for us, or any regulatory amendments to be done for the global standards? Suresh.
It's a great question again. Let us put it very transparently where, again, the challenge is to realize Indian digital dreams. Like with the support of regulators and trying to emphasize more on that and trying to have even the benefits of going cashless. What are indirectly you're saying how we can try to mitigate, especially when you get into rural and trying to opt for it. So let us understand very clear to find any digital, you name it with any jargon, robotics or digital cashless payments, has to go through 3 challenges, which is connectivity, bandwidth. So let us have the applications which is working both online, offline, and we should have the entrance of addressing electricity. Still, I have more than 400 locations of mine working with only 3 hours electricity, and the resource availability in the last mile. Who understands and appreciates. So these 3 concerns has to get built part of it. And in India, e-business is less to do with electronics, more to do with more of emotions. So until the emotions are trying to build part of the e-technology and trying to get connected, it's not so easy to build on that. Where Prasanna mentioned very clearly, saying like all finances should come together. That's what we call something called earn to pay model. Make the customer to earn so that he can pay for the bank, whatever it is, all that, which is nothing but a community cloud. He will get into the community cloud where other things are all available. He will use only one digital expectation to set all and come out, and he should have the yieldings also, how it goes more into the transparency and trying to get as much as on timely again solutions, whatever it is, and it should be more reliable and scalable. So similar things are the challenges which is given as of now, and surely the kind of even regulators, especially when it comes to tax, go deeper pockets of it. Now the people trying to use how to mitigate or how to address illegal payments, like to make it as illegal, then what are the things to be addressed. So creating the customer service, having empower of digital payment platforms, which is more prompt, which we call it a reach and speed. It should reach to the other opponent faster, and it should be speedy, and it should be secure. So keeping all these things looks very simple, but that's what the complexity which is built internally. And the convenience in payments, it should be quick transactions, save time and resource. Again, that's again I'm trying to connect part of the bandwidth and the kind of applications whichever it is there. And nowadays people try to bring out earn to pay model, which is more integration. Like Prasanna mentioned, it's like whatever we are planning to do for 5 years, now it has come to 5 months. So people mindset has changed and things are expected, and the things are also in place. So where people are motivated to even get into bank accounts now, trying to use the kind of inflation framework and trying to utilize so that the particular transaction cost comes down and trying to be more secure and safe. So if this all the things are possible, and if you are trying to get that best out of it, let us have something called a community cloud. Again, talks less about the corporate digital, talks more about customer digital, and give a bouquet of services. It could be even a financial services, could be even a corporate bank, it could be even a nationalized bank. All the services should be available part of it, and you should pick and take it up and try to use it. Those kind of things are going to get matured, and that's where the real challenge and the kind of opportunity people can see to try to use as much as on digital. Back to Mr. VS.
Thank you. So Ashish, you represent fintech. So what do you think the readiness of the banks in India to open up their APIs, and you want to have a lot of integrations and come up with some new innovations? So do you see such type of things happening in India? The openness, I call it as open bank.
Right. Yeah, thanks, Lisa. So definitely, there are not many banks now who are, going into AISP or PISP where they have the APIs where the account information can be shared or the payment information can be shared. Definitely with traditional banks, the way they have been working, there are compliance stuff which needs to be still, automated, or the APIs have to be there. And the government is also helping us in, coming up with many different ways of onboarding a customer. See, traditionally, you have to go to a branch and then, open an account. Now with the fintechs coming in play, where you can, open an account sitting in a sofa in your house in 5 to 6 minutes, the regulatory stuff is definitely there, which needs to be still addressed, and it is getting addressed with OTP, KYC, CKYC, centralized KYC. Government is coming up with that. Offline KYC, government is coming up with that. So there are many things which uh, which government is coming up with. Now, how does it impact the traditional banking business? Definitely, with fintechs coming in play, the impact on the traditional banking business is that the banks get the opportunity to expand their range of offerings. Once you get the customer in your hand, then you are able to do cross sell, of all the complementary products which you can do. Then the other good part is that you unlock the unserved markets. So, for example, there is a very small SME bank which is sitting in China, is sitting in let's say Tamil Nadu, and traditionally it would have been only be able to offer its offerings to the customers who are there, locally located. But now, with the fintech being in play, they can reach out to the customers who are in far North India as well, right? So it helps us, in exploring the entire markets, and which definitely helps in generating the new revenue streams.
Okay.
Now, what fintech is playing a role, VSR, here is that with the millennial population coming into picture, right, or the Gen X, population, Gen Z population coming into picture,
Right.
they are very demanding. They don't rely on the traditional approach. They will search for the information, the financial products. They will go to online. They will find so many tips, and the only thing they want is convenience. They
Right.
want personalization. They want accessibility. So all that, which I think banks have that forte of the money and the revenue and the other stuff, but most of these things is going to come up with the fintech, where they are going to transform the entire banking system from a branch specific process
Right.
to the digital channels, which is going to be and that is where the bankings can take the advantage of omni-channel presence. The mobile UI and UX, that is what fintechs are bringing in. So I think definitely there is an impact on the bank, but I feel that this is a win-win situation for both the fintech and the bank, because fintech is driving the business and the bank is also getting the customers.
Okay, I think excellent. So this is also another one area I think strategic intent and direction required. The integration of banks and fintech. What is the new extended banking ecosystem can be built? I think each and every bank has to look at that. I'm not still sure whether are there any regulatory challenges to have that open banking in India. I think we have to really see that how that ecosystem will be built. So I think we're trying to bring out some important aspects. Very good. So Sudhin, you talk about strategic directional thing. I think the robos and robo advisors, humanless probably help desk, which you did not say, but I'm saying that. So how the banks, with all these things, how banks can reduce the human effort and use the brains for the best banking. I think the next level of banking, how they can take it. Now coming to Prasanna, within 2 minutes, probably, can you please give your idea? Yeah, last 1 decade, I think we have been talking about cryptocurrencies, and even the conventional banks, the huge banks, also started so many initiatives on the distributed ledger technologies like blockchain. Some of the banks, in fact, are bringing their own currencies. Even I think Facebook is bringing their own currency. Reliance is bringing their own currency. So this is where we all heard about the cryptocurrencies and all. So what do you think this whole cryptocurrency impact on the banks and how the Indian banking industry marry with this cryptocurrency. So can you please share your thoughts on that?
So cryptocurrency is a phenomena which gives a liberty for a bank to operate without much of operations. Okay, so say example Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't require man in middle. Bitcoin doesn't require settlement, or Bitcoin doesn't require any window of operational overheads, right? So what it requires more like some another window where something goes wrong with a transaction to have a dispute management, or to really have incentivization to the banks who are operating in that whole network. So I think using that technology and banking coming together, I think we can do away with a lot of overheads in current banking industry. I think may not be in India, but outside of India, many governments or many countries have adopted cryptocurrencies. There are payment companies like Visa or are adopting crypto. They have adopted some startup recently in a couple of days before. Okay, they are utilizing for that. So Facebook is an example where they have come up with their own cryptocurrency. They tried doing along with the Mastercard, Visa, but actually that was a good try. So I think if you look at ethically, cryptocurrency has a lot of advantages over a period of over current banking. But that to have a right study and a right compliances around that, we can really do wonders for a country. If you bring on a cryptocurrency or a cryptocurrency technology based another currency, we can certainly have it. That's how is a take. But before doing that, we should have a proper study, proper regulation framework around that, and let's run it. So this is how China is doing, or Japan is doing. It's being done in the Sweden has launched some of the banks on a crypto banks, right? Switzerland. They have done it. There are small countries who has their own cryptocurrencies. So
Exchanges also.
if you look at positive parts of the cryptocurrency, they are really good positive parts. But if you look at the cryptocurrency like Ethereum, Bitcoin, which doesn't make any sense for a normal Indian citizen, so government will always say no to them because it is not giving really impact. Third aspect around cryptocurrency, which we'll talk about, which is decentralized finance. So decentralized finance are those fintech companies who are operating without banks. They are providing lending support. They are providing your CASA accounts. Moreover, they are acting as if they're providing interest also, whatever money you are depositing there. So I think as a country or as a India, we have a potential to create a group, right? Of the way we create a group for cyber security or AI or blockchain, cryptocurrency experts, and bring a regulation wherein we can really surpass whatever hindrances, challenges which we have right today in operational overhead settlements. There are a lot of disputes. So many calls go to the contact center. My transaction done at ATM, but it's still not done, or I have sent money, but still it is not done. So these kind of things we can really do away. But moreover, for a longer period, we will save a lot of infrastructure also for a banks. So good parts are there, I think, but there is a long way to go because whatever investment we have done so far on IMPS, UPS, NFT, and it will take a lot of time to really remove it and be there. The way we have done UPI, right? How we have done UPI? We did UPI for among 4 banks as a POC pilot way back in 15-16, and followed by 11 banks in 16 April. Followed by now we have so many banks on UPI. A parallel ecosystem is created aligned with the regulation. Similarly, we have to see some other this kind of a satellite ecosystem coming in slowly under a regulation, and let's embark on that technology benefit of crypto. I think then it's very much possible to do that, but there is a long way to go. But that long way to go can be really fast tracked based upon how force is coming from government. UPI was blessed by RBI, right? Similarly, I think something has to be blessed by somebody. Then only it will happen at a country like India. Yeah.
I think, as you rightly said, I'm sure RBI already appointed a task force working on this, but still, I think need to be probably expedited to see that not only limiting to this, what are the important items we discussed, a long way to go in India. So my last 2 questions, probably I request Sudhin and Suresh to answer. One is, what is the impact on the software applications? We all from the technology community. Now we talk about open banking, we talk about robo banking, we talk about probably the cryptocurrency based in future or blockchain. Maybe I think Sudhin, prior to this discussion, we were talking it's not only currency. The blockchain smart contracts will make the banks autonomous. Maybe most of the transactions can be done automatically. All the policies can be implemented automatically, right? So with all these changes, what are the applications which we have been building for the last 60, 70 years? They're all transactional. Okay, they're all transactional applications. But now Ashish talk about some social CRM, social media, personalization. There is some systems are coming in to engage the people. There are systems coming in to interact with the things like whatever ATMs or other wearable devices and all, right? So if you look at this, the spectrum, the applications, the software applications, not just limited to the systems of records, which are transactions, systems of engagement, systems of things are happening. So what is the challenge for the CIO to embrace all these new type of applications to be designed, developed, and deployed? So what challenges? There are flooded. I said 12 technologies. I mean, it is a nightmare for the CIOs, right?
No, absolutely, great question. In fact, when we built all these systems, the system of records and system of engagement, especially let's say for our core banking and other mission critical services, we have built so much of code, and we have got so many repositories that we don't even know where the code is, where the repository is, who is owning that repository, how to do the governance, how to do the change management, how to do the DevOps. It's a mess. It still works. It still works because over the years we have perfected it, being a mission critical services and systems, right? But so that's on the run side. On the change side, what we're doing is that we are using now the latest and greatest of technologies like LCNC, which is low code, no code. So without writing any code or minimal code, I just get a template. I just click on that template, and without writing any code or minimal code, I can get my solution working. I have used these low code, no code applications for developing some mobile applications, and I could do that entire application I could build in 3 days, right? Even if it's a web service application, I'm sure it can be built in 5 days. Otherwise, previously, if you ask me how much time do we spend, I will not tell you the exact details, but it's very embarrassing to tell you how much time we have spent on developing applications and this architecture and the design and the solutions, right? So I think this entire convergence of low code, no code for the engineering and development, then the automation like RPA and IPA, as well as the alignment and integration with emerging technology. For example, blockchain, right? Blockchain, if you look at it, it is like a secured, it's like a converged code, right? It's got the compute element, it's got the storage element, it's got the network element. So all these emerging technologies like blockchain, AI is in fact extremely well aligned to the new development, engineering and development that we are doing based on low code, no code, and RP and IPA. So I think this is a great opportunity for both banks and fintechs to build solutions much faster, and on the change side also make sure that these solutions that we build are more based on data and data science, which can then help in the analytics, as well as also give us the feedback as to how to improve our overall customer engagement. So I think this is a great opportunity. I can tell you that all global banks are using these low code, no code, and RPA systems and IPA systems every day. And I think over the years it will really benefit. There's a lot of developer ecosystem that are also being built, and the fact that if we can reduce this development time by 70-80%, as well as integrate very well with the emerging tech, I think will be great for banks and will be great for all their customers.
So what is the readiness of our Indian banks in terms of we talk about? I think we are talking in a way the new way of software engineering. You talk about RPA in software development. You talk about AI. You talk about I think DevOps, then RPA or IPA and all. These are all very new practices, new methods, right? It's not like traditionally the CIO community used them. These are all, I think, last 3-4 years. I think slowly they are transitioning into this one. So, what is the readiness of Indian banking industry and the CIO community for all these new practices? Not like big banks. I think they have money, but I'm talking about in general.
Yeah, so I mean, all banks and even smaller banks, I think they know that what is the new emerging models and emerging engineering principles that are coming along. So they are building skills competencies, global competencies, coding competencies, They are also working with their consulting partners as well as system integration partners to share resources and also get the knowledge, right? So there is a lot of focus today to use this emerging tech not as just something that is showcased just showcased across, that saying yes we have used this, but to actually start with those implementations. So for example, we've already done it for our in 2018 when we launched our Yono application. A lot of that development was in fact using the RPA and the low code no code kind of principles and frameworks, right? And that application was built very fast, for the size of our bank, for the size of a global big bank. So I think it's already being done. Yes, further needs to be focused, especially the CIO's thinking where yes, he will have to keep running the systems, the mission critical systems. That's very important. You have seen that the amount of fraud and the amount of payment problems that have sometimes beset at some banks. I don't want to name them, but they've been quite serious failure of these delivery of these mission critical services. So the run has to be maintained, but on the change side, you have to now start thinking of, yes, there is a platform shelf life for what we have done in the past, and now we have to take on the new principles which will only help us to go to time to market faster. Will be able to use the latest and best of technologies, and even in fact I have seen that use of this emerging tech is very good to even do the open banking and open API kind of frameworks, right? So if I go to a bank and say that, hey, I'm already working on low code no code, I've already got the automation, then it'll be easier for me to get all the banks together and to build a kind of a API hub, or to build an open banking kind of a consortium and alliances. And this is very common in Europe, maybe not that much common in the US, and India is taking is taking shape. We built together with Shan and with Suresh and Prasanna, we built in 2017 a bank chain alliance where we got 30 plus banks together, 10 technology vendors together, and we said, let's work together, let's test out these these new emerging technologies like blockchain. So I think everybody is taking it very seriously. It's not only the big banks, but even the entire all fintechs. In fact, a lot of the development by fintechs, and Ashish would also agree that in fact they're looking at all the RPA and IPA and low code, no code kind of development, because if you do it the legacy way, it's going to take by the time it's going to take too long a time. So I think it's happening. It is being seriously taken. Yes, there are challenges in terms of skill sets and also the thinking that we have acquired over a long time, right? No, this is the only way we can do it, and this is the only way it can be done. I think that's also changing. So I see a very bright future, and I think it's in fact even great for, there's a lot of even opportunity for fintechs to push their services and offerings integrated with the bank offerings and take it ahead.
Okay, that's great. So that's great. I think an excellent description of how the complete CAO organization they have to look at, and how they can embrace the new practices and all. Sean, I have one question. Now we talked about so many things. I mean, I'm sure so much of data get generated. I mean, in the last 30-40 minutes, what you have been talking, I think maybe it is 100 times more data than in the conventional bank. So you need more storage, you need more computing power, all those things. So now people are talking about multi-clouds and hybrid clouds, and so the whole infrastructure side, the workload pattern is completely changed, and it is going to be changed tremendously because of all these new way of doing the banking, robo banking or open banking or the cryptocurrency banking, whatever it is. So what do you think the changes needs to be brought in the technology infrastructure? So whether cloud, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, edge computing, what not? I mean, the programmable networks and all. Again, that is another nightmare for the CIOs. It's not as easy what we say. A lot of transition needs to happen. Yeah.
It's again a great question. From technology point of view, we have enough jargons. It starts from cloud and it ends with whatever on that. But let me put that expectations. What is the functional changes happening today? That's where the expectations coming part of the technology part of view. The kind of corona effect, you can see even a small kirana shop where they are able to do a business in a day, 7,000 rupees. By adding other products to that, they are able to complete, or they are able to serve the things in that society more than 25,000 in the same day. That's the expectation from the kirana shop wala, where he is able to sell its assorted things using technology, trying to put it. Take it from the transporter
Right.
angle. Good old days, transporter was just using as a technology. Today, he wants something called an astrological message, which comes part of his receipt and goes as an idea to him. Being a Kanya star, you will get your money back. That day it happens, then he's strongly believing your system, and the trust is built more on the expectations. Same way, like you see any area, you take it like even farmers today. What we do is we tell them like whether today it will rain or the soil fertility, which he knows better. So from there, the expectations of information is flowing back to the system. So there, the capturing of information from the farmers to the technology and trying to keep it as a social media, which is available for those people who start farming as a new thing. So the kind of transformation what we see now, people don't want advice; they have it. They are saying like they have some demands which has to be fulfilled, including finance advisory, good olden days, whatever it is. And now people are able to project and they're able to convert what is expected for that financial year and what things they can expect. So since this all those things functionally has changed, that pressure is on the technology. So even the customer is now slightly master planned. He wants to have a master key where he should get all the things whatever he is expecting, and the customer is now trying to dictate and technology should deliver to him, which is visible. And when you try to
Okay.
build it, that's what a community cloud we are trying to emphasize, which will build again, which is on the emotional ground, not on the electronics ground, and try to bring like Sudhin can talk for another 2 days on what are all the latest systems available, but that all will get positioned with the expectations set by the demand from the local. Will have more to do with the kind of transformation. And the COVID has put like it will take down the line 5 years. Now it is truncated to 5 months. Surely people are ready and people have made their mindsets to try to utilize. Now it's a right time for even creating data centers towards the districts. Instead of having a data centers in only the metros, now the digital part should go more closer towards the customer and try to create as much as information which will pump into a common place and we are trying to utilize. That will create a huge community cloud where banks can sit on that and have an authentic information. Today, if you see even cryptocurrency or all payments, we are struggling a lot because of the authenticity of the information. This authenticity fails because of the kind of information reliable on the rural India. So create such things which is part of the digital, which will empower us. Reach and speed is going to be the mantra which will serve future down the line for another 3 years. So set all the kind of market or kind of the dynamic system from the banks towards creating the money and trying to get engaged with the customers, not just giving a loan
Okay.
and come with them. Like go get engaged with him for his lifetime is going to be the transition, and that's what the expectation set by the customer towards the corporate. That's what the banking is going to enjoy as the features, which is going to be future. Back to Mr. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Suresh. Sudhin, do you have any? 30 seconds. Can you share your thoughts on the change in the infrastructure in the banking, the technology infrastructure? A few
No, I
thoughts.
think yeah, just a few points. I think we have been. I must confess that we have been as banks flip-flopping on the cloud journey for a very, very long time. We first thought of private cloud, then public cloud, then hybrid cloud, and but now with the COVID, post-COVID, I think we all agree that entire core banking is going to be on the cloud, entire GRC is going to be on the cloud, everything is going to be on the cloud, right? There is no way we can't do anything about it. And I think along with that, so that infrastructure part also is going to be modernized with the advent of hyper-converged infrastructure, where your entire compute network storage can only be bought once rather than buying separate servers every time. So that's also a great benefit, in the infrastructure piece. And I think in terms of what I also see is that the ability for the applications to be cloud native. I think that is very important, because if you have still the legacy piece of it, or even the kind of distributed kind of architecture, that may not be the very well optimized for a cloud platform and for those kind of integrations. So I think that is going to be a very good space to also have the entire application built also be cloud native, and it should also be able to take care of better security, better governance, better risk, better compliance, better audit. So I think these are the things that are going to come in a very, very big way.
Super. I think thank you so much. I think it's a wonderful discussion. We covered multi-dimensional aspects of banking 4.0. I think that's where India has to kickstart. Like I think Prasanna, you also mentioned 5G is coming in. Then I think a lot of changes will be there in the consumer behavior. and expectations, then banks have to move further speed. So I think we covered the technologies fusion, how it is going to change the whole banking, because it is very much required in the fourth industrial revolution and digital economy. The speed at which the customers changing their expectations, their needs, their wants, their emotions, very, very difficult to cope up. So there is no choice for banks except embracing these technologies and the fusion of technologies. So we also talk about the fintechs and other startups, the open banking, and the payment service providers and its impact on the banks. So, or the banks are going to be limited only to back office transactions, where these high-tech Gen Z's driven startups, fintechs are going to take over the customer interactions. I think there is some, I think pain is there, but still, I think, as you rightly said, some regulatory things will be there. It's not like somebody will come and just take over. That's another thing. Then Sudhin also talk about the robos, the robo advisors, the robo help desk. So how you can optimize the conversational bots to transactional bots, and then slowly getting into autonomous banking transaction. Of course, autonomous is not that near, but certainly that is another thing. So then we also talk about the cryptocurrencies. That means there are a lot of cryptocurrencies coming in, and India also, I think, needs to look at that holistically. So out of all this, that means we talk about what all the changes are coming in the banking segment, open banking, robo banking, social banking, which Ashish mentioned. So there is a lot of change required at the IT applications or software applications, software engineering, software new practices, new methods, whether DevOps or RPA, then infrastructure as code, whatnot. I mean, site reliability engineering. There are so many new things are coming into the software engineering. The CAOs have to embrace that. And again, Sean mentioned about the clouds, especially the emotional cloud. It's not electronics cloud, and the community cloud. And we also talk about the cloud native apps and the whole security, authenticity, and all. That's a wonderful discussion. Banking 4.0. I think let us accelerate that as a technology community in India. Thank you so much, friends, for joining this exciting panel.